Lose me.
It's only 69 days until Election Day, meaning that this is the first time all election season that Bill Clinton has shown any interest at all. Trump vs. Hillary starts now!
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
What's happening here?
Oh, I'd love to be.
Oh, wouldn't I? No, actually, I don't know that I would. When you think about it, I'm the second verse. I'm glad I'm not an Oscar Mayer Weiner. Welcome to Weiner Talk here on Trump versus Hillary.
I'm so over this, but we're going to get started.
What? Here he comes. Wait.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not.
There you go. I'm glad I'm not an Oscar Mayer Weiner. Anyway, welcome to Trump versus Hillary. I'm Christian Bladt at Christian DMZ. Next to me, Chelsea Galicia at Chelsea Galicia.
Hello.
Drexel Heard pulling double duty tonight. At
Yes.
Drexel Heard. And the prodigal son returns. Scott at S-Man80. Scott Moore. I almost called it. See, the S-Man threw me off.
I know.
I was almost like, Scott Manning's not your name, but I almost called you that because of at S-Man80.
I can never get my name anywhere.
And
Hello.
back to Siberia on the couch. The couch of dissent. Stephen Helmkamp at Stephen Helmkamp.
Holding it down.
Before we started, the rest of the panel seemed to think that the Anthony Weiner story is not important. Do you agree, Stephen?
I mean, I don't think it deserves a ton of time.
No, but and as I said, it only gets any time at all because it's funny. And if his name wasn't Weiner, it probably
It's
you know.
funny, and I just watched an episode last night of an older Bill Maher episode from like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and Weiner was one of the panelists on his show. I was like, who would have thought? 10 days later, you'd be sending a dick pic.
I feel bad
The kid in
for
the bed.
whomever the female panelist was on that show. You know, like if S.E.
All
Cupp
male.
was there. Oh, well, that's how they got him
Yeah,
to actually
all
sit
male.
still. No, look, obviously there's, it's not really tied to the presidential election, but there is the tenuous connection. And I wanted to play the Oscar Mayer Weiner song. Is really what it comes
That was a
down
good
to.
excuse. You've been wanting to this whole time.
What it really comes down to, and we're talking generally in politics here. I just can't believe how some people just never learn. He's literally doing the same thing. He's got his face in the pictures, and there's that creepy picture where his kid's in the picture.
Yeah.
Chelsea, your thoughts on this?
Some kind of disorder. This is out of control. I doubt he would consciously want to sabotage his life and career this way over and over.
No, I think he can't help himself.
Right.
I think a lot of people are like, finally his wife is leaving. I feel bad for her. I mean, she was pregnant the first time in 2011 when she found out, or we all found out about his,
Weiner.
Yeah, thank you.
That's really all you can say. Yeah.
And so I don't blame her for trying to make it work, or failing.
No, for
or
sticking
to
around the
give her-
first time, you're like, all right.
I mean, and
but-
yeah, there was strike 2, and then apparently strike 3, and you're out. And okay, whatever she feels is best for her and her family, is fine. But I'm glad that we're touching on this and then moving right along, because this has nothing to do with anything. And I hope that you enjoyed your Oscar Mayer Weiner song. I would like to remind all of you
I might
that,
hear it again, but
that processed meats are
delicious. Stephen, can you back me up on that?
Carcinogens.
Processed meats?
Are they? Oh,
No,
yeah.
they're
companies
delicious.
like Monsanto. I know.
Oh,
Wait,
all right.
who was on the board of advisors for Monsanto? Oh, right, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's right.
What does Monsanto have to do with wieners?
Yes.
Processed food, horrible food that's GMOs.
That's a
There's
different
nothing wrong
thing,
with
but
G-
kind of.
not
There's another
GMOs,
good
though.
tenuous connection.
Speaking of the Wiener, I think
Help him, please.
By the way, I had 3 jokes
Please
in my
help
head
him.
that I all
Just don't stay quiet right on over here. Just
No,
You're like writing
we
your
do need
notes
to get
to
to
use
Team
later.
Hillary down at the other end, but what were we going to say?
I think people underestimate sexual addiction and the power it has over people, especially
But that's
Weiner
not-
himself.
That's a
Yeah.
selfie addiction.
No,
sexual
I know, but he
addiction.
was having sex.
Well, he's
wasn't
trying
he?
No,
to
he's trying
get
to. It's
a
alluding
point.
to. It's
Yeah.
a form
same-
of. It's a
it
form of
is.
sexual gratification. What he was doing, text messaging this woman for 9 months.
Well, now we understand, Stephen, why you have to accept people, because you don't know what you're going to get on Twitter. You know, you have a private account, probably because you were afraid that Anthony Weiner was going to follow you.
Yeah, I get a bunch of
know what folks
creepos.
in the chat room are saying. So if we
If we could bring up the chat room, that'd be great. I hope they're all still singing the Oscar Mayer Weiner song. But so Team Hillary on the other end of the desk, both of you. I want to know. I mean, obviously, you know, is this a distraction for Hillary because, you know, Huma Abedin has, you know, had to deal with this? I feel like she's, you know, taking some time and it's fine, but it doesn't seem to impact the Clinton campaign in any way. Drexel.
No, why should it?
Right,
I don't
exactly.
think
Well,
that,
just
No,
reporters asking dumb questions.
I'm saying this has nothing to do with Hillary Clinton. This has nothing to do with, for the most part, Huma Abedin, other than the fact that she was a victim in this situation.
Right.
And you know,
Well, no, I don't think she's a victim,
I'm saying
but
that
I
she's-
appreciate
well,
the
well,
compassion.
the fact that her marriage
her
is falling
marriage is falling
apart.
apart.
Yeah,
I'm
you
saying
can
she's
feel
got
bad for
personal-
her.
yeah, she's got personal
And
issues.
that's out in the public eye, which is way different than someone else just sexting to someone. You know, this is out in the public eye.
The
so it
fact of
affects
the
her and
matter
her
is
family.
that Huma Abedin is about to be White House Chief of Staff, and you know, so she's got other things to worry about, and she's got a kid to support now, and she's trying to do her own thing. So she's trying to elect a president.
I'm pretty sure that Anthony Weiner's probably not going to get
Clearance
for
to the
access to the White House.
No.
So like the visitation is going to have to be worked out.
I don't
in a
know.
different
Hillary
way.
Clinton stuck around 17 times when Bill fooled around. I don't know why Weiner can't do 3.
Well, you know, hey, good for Bill that there
Right.
wasn't Twitter back then.
Exactly,
Doesn't
but-
every woman get to say for herself when
that's
Of
enough
course,
is
and I
enough?
absolutely do
right,
not
it's very
support
different.
any adultery, and I think Huma should
Steven's just trying to
should have
do
left after the
digs
first
that he's
time.
not very good at. So
Exactly, it was just a dig.
So, like comparing Hillary and Bill
By the
and
way,
what was going
so
on, it's personal.
let's
so.
talk about the chat room for a second, because Storage Yard Resident, our most dedicated and loyal viewer, just blurts out, "Hillary's going to lose!" exclamation point. I love that. I love that.
well, it was Trump will win. Trump is not going to
Lock
win.
her
Hillary
up.
will lose.
Lock her
Yeah.
up.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's fun in the chat room. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you join in on the
Yes,
chat.
that's fun for sure. Not.
So there's so many different places we could start past Weinerville, but
Which, hold on, I just want to say that I don't know if you guys remember. Maybe we're all old enough to remember
the show
on Nickelodeon,
Weinerville. Oh, yeah.
Weinerville. I just wanted to bring that up because nobody really knows
a
that
comedian
show.
whose last name was Weiner, but first name not
Do you
Anthony.
remember that
Right.
show? I don't know. Chelsea's like, I didn't watch. I was watching Arthur.
You mean
I had to come up with the smart one of the
You mean the
smartest
movie
shows.
with Dudley Moore? She
Yes,
was
that
watching
one.
that. Okay. I think we should all watch that. So let's start with an interesting tweet by Donald Trump at Real Donald Trump about Dwayne Wade, which we have so we can show people. And Dwayne Wade's cousin was just shot and killed walking her baby in Chicago. Just what I've been saying. African Americans will vote Trump! Exclamation point. He did after that send a condolence tweet. However, he did not take down the other tweet, which I guess at this point you can't.
Actually,
really
he took
take.
it down because he spelled Dwayne Wade's
And
name wrong.
then he reposted it. See, that I didn't even realize. So I'll start with Scott. Your thoughts on that kind of a post from a guy who is supposed to be staying on message and really focused, and, you know, should they just take away whatever device he
I know,
tweets
you should
from?
just take away everything from him. You can't have any of his toys.
Yeah, just like have like a fake like intranet where he thinks he's
Yes.
posting on Twitter, and
that
it
would be
just
a great
goes.
idea.
Yeah, that's what,
Just like the whole thing about him being
Yeah.
the fake president, and he just thinks he's actually president, and he's really not.
But anyway, yeah, just give us your thoughts on the fact that you know this is this gets added into the course of the week.
It's just there are no words anymore with what he does. I mean, really, that's when something actually happened like that, and his relative was killed, and you're gonna send out a tweet like that saying, "Oh, now African Americans are gonna be voting for me." Like, how base and how horrible! It's awful.
But it just doesn't make any logical
there's
sense.
no connection
What
to
does this
begin
mean?
with,
That's
but-
what I've been saying.
Right.
He's saying about there being crime and inner cities being democratic for all these years, and now it's going on his whole theme like, oh, you guys have nothing to lose but voting for me, and that horrible.
He can continue
base.
to make that point, but it seems like probably not the time. If you send that tweet out at that exact minute and don't mention, just if you say African Americans are going to vote for me, everybody would be like, "Well, you're crazy."
Well, there's never a good time to say.
But then you tie it
like
to that. It just seems, for lack of a better word, it just seems stupid. Drexel, you think that this is?
I'm sure Drexel's got some fine words.
Drexel
here's the thing.
retweeted it. Are you kidding
I
me?
think that Kellyanne Conway has her hands full. I think she sent that second tweet.
Yeah.
Even though she went on, she's like, I was pleased that he sent a condolence tweet.
Here's a,
and boy, was that condolence tweet.
Well, there's all those things of
written.
like, if it comes from an Android, it's this. If it comes from an Apple, you know.
I've seen that, and ever since I saw that, and for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, there was an article that was making the rounds that when Trump tweets, it says it's from an Android or iPhone, and when the campaign tweets, it's the other. But I don't see that on his tweets, so I ever since then. So I don't know what they've done, but I was fascinated by that. So I feel like this was going to be one from whatever the Trump device is, though. Drexel.
I just think that it certainly doesn't help Donald Trump at all, and now he's moved off of African Americans. Now he's got a big immigration speech tomorrow, so he's just trying to figure out where he's gonna throw it at the wall and figure out if it's gonna stick right now. But I don't think it's going to move the African American needle to him. I was talking in my last show just about the way the Republicans try to frame this issue on inner cities and Democratic strongholds on inner cities. We could say the same thing about Republican strongholds on low-income white voters. So for years, low-income white voters have been voting Republican, and they've been gutting every program, every education program, every education benefit, every benefit that they deserve. In Kentucky, they've been trying to cut Kentucky. They've been trying to gut Obamacare, but they are benefiting from Kentucky Connect.
No, I think you were right the first time. They're trying to cut Kentucky.
They're trying to cut Kentucky out. They're trying
to.
They're trying to cut programs. Republicans, time and time again, have been trying to cut programs that have helped their low-income white voters, and low-income white voters have overwhelmingly voted them in. Now, you might talk about Democrats trying to, put money into inner cities, or put money into education, or put money where you think they shouldn't be putting money into it, but at least they're putting the money back into the people somehow. Republicans seem to be wanting to take it away from them, and that is the argument that Hillary Clinton should be taken to the low-income white voters and to the middle-class white voters, because frankly, Republican policies are not working for low-income and middle-class white voters.
For no reason in particular, Stephen, you have any thoughts on what Drexel just said? Just
well, I think Trump's trying to play the card. If I say it enough, it'll happen. And I mean, like Scott said, he does talk about that a lot at his rallies. Unfortunately, Twitter doesn't tag a clip from his rally to feed the rest of the tweet. So you see just the tweet and you think just that. But if you watch the rallies, he does tie it to the inner cities, what's going on, the black-on-black crime that's going on in Chicago, and all the crime that's going on there, and that's not being talked about. And this person's being talked about because she has a famous cousin in the NBA.
Well,
we've been talking about violence in inner cities all over.
Which is what the
this
real
whole
issues
black
are.
on black crime.
Right.
I mean, white on white crime. We never hear about that, but that's a real thing too.
Right.
Hey, last week in this studio, we had black on white crime. So you see, it all happens, And
total.
But by the way, we sat outside for like an hour and had a beer afterwards. So it wasn't.
Even though the conversation continued and it got even more heated
heated.
outside.
Yeah, for another hour long debate.
Our own after show for our after
If we could bring a camera crew out back
Exactly. You
when we
can't
have
tell
a bit.
people after the fact.
Yeah.
Right.
So as Drexel alluded to, Trump has a major immigration speech tomorrow. And he tweeted about it. He says, I'm going to yell when he used all caps. I will be making a major speech on illegal immigration on Wednesday in the great state of Arizona. Big crowds looking for a larger venue. So he's always, he always wants you to know. It's like, oh, don't worry. We're gonna get as many people as we can. And honestly, I feel like that issue in Arizona, he probably is looking for a larger venue. I mean, I'm sure that there are plenty of empty seats where the Arizona Cardinals play, like when they play. So you just go there. We get a lot of these. Like, it seems like we're getting a lot of resets on issues from him. And
The Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah.
Mitt Romney Etch-a-Sketch moment.
You just shake it, and then So I don't know. I mean, I think he's definitely chosen a place where his message seems to be well received, and he has the best chance of connecting.
I wonder if Arpaio will be around.
Sheriff Joe?
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll introduce him.
He's going to get
tried
for
by Trump
contempt.
followers, sure, but he's beloved, Sheriff Joe. I mean, the radio show I used to work on, we'd have him on every once in a while.
Is this for real?
Yeah. Oh my God, people love him. When he was,
what?
I'm like beloved
we
by
would have
certain
him on because he would speak
group
out
of
on
people.
issues. Why is he well known? Because of his unique. Okay, whatever you were going to say. But it all started because he had sort of an unconventional idea for prisoners, and it was basically that they all wore pink uniforms because it was kind of demoralizing in a way. And when there was overcrowding, great, they'll all we'll have tents out back, so that it doesn't have to be comfortable. It's jail. So, and I think that sort of not just tough on crime, but tough on criminals. That message really responded with.
It doesn't surprise me because he has no regard for the law. So cruel and unusual punishment is just a minor inconvenience probably to him. He has ignored court orders to stop racially profiling people, and now he's going to be held in contempt. I hope that means he gets to wear pink undies and camp out in a tent in the back of a hot prison.
Speaking of criminals, Stephen, I watched a documentary that you wanted me to watch.
I also
called
did
Clinton
too.
Cash.
Dun, dun, dun.
So
You
three of us
did?
have watched Clinton Cash.
I did not see it.
Drex watched it.
So I can't wait until we have that
I did
conversation.
not get to watch it.
I think we're in it.
As you can watch it for free on YouTube. It's called Clinton Cash. And
We're not promoting it, by the
It is
way.
very
We're just-
important to mention, co-written by Stephen K. Bannon, now involved in the Trump campaign. And, you were talking last week about, why is nobody talking about Clinton Cash? He kind of makes a big point about Russia. And Steve Bannon is now working for a campaign that they're having a lot of allegations about Russia.
Yeah.
So he's like, the ixnay on the English K.
Yeah, so is that true that Putin owns 20% of American uranium?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's research that supports that. So I don't know. I mean, it must... It's hard for me to say it's not true,
So here's the Russian uranium one deal.
Because we got to get back to immigrant. We got to get back to the actual issue,
Sure.
real issue, which is not Clinton Cash.
Yes.
The fact that
Which
Donald
we will talk more
the fact
about.
that Donald Trump has an immigration speech tomorrow that he canceled from last week that he was supposed to do.
What do you think that is about?
I'm sure it's about
He was
the fact
hoping-
that
he was hoping that he would be-
I'm sure he had an 8-ball and he turned.
He's probably too
and every
busy
time
doing
somebody
press
popped
conferences
up,
and
he just
interviews,
said,
unlike
let's
the
do
other
that.
candidate.
Actually, he was hoping that he would be named to the cast of Dancing with the Stars.
Yes.
And then when he wasn't, he's like, fine.
When
Yes,
he
I
wasn't,
guess
they
I'm
picked Ryan Lochte, and then that's what happened.
Yeah.
And he's
They
like, great, I got to
switched him
still
up for Ryan
pretend to
Lochte.
do this whole
Rick
presidential
Perry and
election.
Ryan
Yes.
Lochte.
I
I wonder
know.
if they'll both go for Amber Rose. I mean, this is going to be...
yeah.
You're really scraping
Really
the bottom of the barrel now.
Here's the thing about, and
About immigration.
Here's
And
the
don't
thing-
worry, Stephen, we will talk about
Here's
Clinton
the thing
Cash.
about, if you go to HillaryClinton.com or you go to JillStein2016.com or even Johnson Weld, I made this point. I make this point all the time. Or if you go to and you go to DonaldJTrump.com. Okay, you look at those three that I named first. They're all overwhelmingly positive messages about how to deal with immigration reform. If you go to DonaldJTrump.com, he's got a 7-point plan, and of course, the top of the plan is, make Mexico pay for the wall. Okay, so for what wall? Okay, so then he kind of lists triple the number of ICE officers. Now there's 50,000 ICE officers. They tripled the number of border patrol officers, but not immigration officers in the country. Now that might just be a policy that Democrats can eventually kind of figure themselves out and kind of work with Republicans on in terms of just figuring out compromising on immigration policy on that. Defund sanctuary cities, detention on catch and release, mandatory return of criminal aliens, but nationwide e-verify as if we don't do that already. And so that's the problem with the Trump campaign. It's not very inviting. And so when we bring up immigration all the time,
Because it's supposed to be uninviting.
right, people always automatically assume, and Trump thinks that the American people are stupid, and for the most part, there are quite a few stupid folks out there. They automatically think of Mexico, and they forget to think about the other immigrants that come from other countries, and how that affects not only our relationship with those people that are trying to come in, but the countries that they're coming from. And so, what is he going to? He starts with Mexico, then is he going to start with Britain? Is he going to start with Russia? Is he going to start with China? Is he going to start with Australia? Is he going to start with our allies and those people who want to come over here? So these are dangerous policies on a global scale. This is not just about where we are.
Go ahead,
Can I
Chelsea.
do a very quick, some context here? Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, all of these countries are not in a terrible situation just because they themselves drove their situation there. The United States has a lot to do with why those countries are in the predicament that they are. So for us to be now your plight is so terrible, but don't try and come here to work. You deal with your own problems after we either caused or massively contributed to their problems is just so ridiculous. And so this idea that a wall is going to fix everything is just come with me to Guatemala
what's your
one
point,
time.
Scott?
Well, no, that's what I was gonna say. Which is, first of all, we all know there's racist back
think,
to any of that because, like you're saying,
I don't think most people know this. I hope. I don't know if there's a documentary about this, but if there is, maybe Stephen can find it.
I'm sure he
find
did.
out about the CIA's involvement in the civil wars,
right? And the leftist nations, the country, the rulers at the time down there, and even in South America.
I don't know. I mean, the CIA is pretty good at their job, so there probably aren't documentaries.
It was really bad in the very early 80s, and I go almost every year to Guatemala and help build schools, and those villages themselves were invaded and people dragged out and killed in front of their families, and now I get to build schools to help the kids of those people who are there to tell us their story. And if you meet with these people and find that it's not those people on the other side of this wall we want to build, that they're real people who love their families, who want to give their kids every opportunity that they can.
I don't think Trump hates on those people.
You see
Trump hates on 80% of U.S.'s cocaine comes
for
from
their
Mexico.
kids, and they are asked the question, now that it is getting even harder to cross the border, the repercussions worse, and we ask them, will you still try? Some of them, most of them say, I have no choice. I know I have a good chance of being killed. I know people that have been killed, but I have no choice. Really. So we can have this whole, we are a law and order country, but when you're putting law and order up against people's survival, good luck with that. It's not going to happen. So if we really want to do something about this, let's go back to the root causes. I know that there's corruption in these countries, a lot of it. And the United States helped make them corrupt. So we can help fix that, help these countries do better, anti-corrupt these corrupt countries. We have the power to do that so that people want to stay, so that there's economy there, so that we infrastructure there. I mean, there's, there aren't safe roads and electricity, and these people can't get to middle school. They stop education at 6th grade because they can't get to school. So if we really want to have people stay in their home countries, this is how we do it. A ridiculous wall is not going to do it. It's just not going to happen.
It doesn't actually. Yeah, it's not, and it's not realistic.
I don't care how many
realistic.
billions of dollars you spend. It's going to be nothing.
Well, and it's always porous. There's always going to be ways to get in. I mean, it's a silly.
These people
it's a
want
silly
to survive.
campaign tactic.
They have a will to survive, and they love their children just as much as Americans love their children. And if Americans were in their situation, I know many of them would do the same thing. So for all these, the wall, I'm going to just throw something at you.
I'm going to tear that wall down.
And I'm also not going to do anything.
Come up with a way
So there's two takeaways from all that. The first is that Chelsea, you are very complicated. You you help build schools for children, and as we established a few weeks ago, you're also a criminal.
Yes.
So
She's
very complex. We have to know.
And
But the point on immigration, what it comes back to, is that Trump needs to do this major speech on immigration. He has to do this reset because there was a very vocal contingent of people who basically felt very strongly in favor of what you're speaking out against, to the extent of Ann Coulter has a book out called "In Trump We Trust," and I love the subtitle, "E Pluribus Awesome." And then when he started saying about immigration last week that we might have to rethink some things, she said to someone, it was an interview, this might be the shortest book tour ever, because what he was saying is kind of the only thing. Conservatives are willing to overlook so much because they feel like they finally have somebody who's strong on illegal immigration, and he needs to do this for them because he's running the risk. Let me just finish the point. He's running the risk of losing the people he already has. And but anyway, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say a couple things. Chat room was blowing up for Chelsea because that was great. That was I was like, oh,
no, she had her
had
soapbox. She was
moment.
like, woo!
Thank you.
It was like, it was the Emmy Award winning moment there.
From a political standpoint, this is the Republican playbook. When Democrats take over an issue that they were strong or they felt they were strong on, whether or not it was strong national defense. Barack Obama really showed them at the beginning of his term with Osama bin Laden, and the fact that we have not had an attack on American soil from a foreign country like we did at 9/11. We can argue all day about.
We had nothing on that scale.
We had nothing on that scale, and we can talk all day about domestic terrorism.
We still had attacks.
Okay, we can talk all day about domestic terrorism.
Well, let's let Drexel finish that point.
This is another issue where Democrats and particularly the Obama administration, has shown that they can be strong on immigration. Now, whether or not we agree with the way that the President Obama has kind of rounded up families and shipped them off, he's deported more immigrants in this country than any president in the combined
in the
21st century. So, this idea that that Democrats cannot lead on issues like that is preposterous. The only difference is that Democrats are not only doing the job and following the law, but they're also trying to work to fix the law to make them do that at the same time.
Right.
And Republicans look at it and they go, oh, well, we just want to do one thing, but they don't want to fix the other side. It's like they want a gut education, but they want to fix the other side of
like
that.
a good one. There was a great Vice episode, I think it's a couple years old, about a dairy farm or the dairy industry in New York, and about how there are no unemployed Americans that would take the job because it's a dirty job, it's an overnight, it's not that fun milking cows apparently, and so
I can only imagine that it's not fun.
And so there's
picking
these
oranges,
people
picking watermelons. Americans don't want those jobs.
Right. Yeah. First of all, can we agree to that there's no?
Hey, we can say that none of us want those jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
fair
we
enough.
can just speak for us.
So there has been legislation. I think Chuck Schumer sponsored it to try and create a path for these workers who come to legally work here, either seasonally or to have some way for them to be here legally, and Republicans said no. For these jobs, I mean, everybody loves milk. I'm not a huge milk fan, but if we
right,
want
and
our
everyone wants
milk,
their fruit, and everyone, like you're saying, and everybody wants certain things and cheap.
Yeah, and then no Americans want to work those jobs.
Exactly.
And these people are getting raided and hauled off and treated inhumanely, and they're already doing work that nobody here wants to do. So I don't get it. If you really wanted to do something and make law and order of this immigration issue, what was wrong with what Chuck Schumer proposed? Why not do things to help either legitimize the people who are here, bring them sort of out of the shadows, as they say. You don't have to legalize them, but you have to decriminalize them.
Start paying taxes and
well, first of all, they already do. I hate that.
Yeah.
If I had something, I would throw it at you. They already
there's
pay
a lot of
taxes.
things here if you want to throw
Americans, most Americans making under $4. We've talked about this. Do not pay federal income taxes.
Which is why Donald Trump is not releasing his tax returns, because they probably paid
do pay
hardly
state,
nothing.
and they pay Social
he
Security.
should be.
They've put in something like, somebody quote me on this, but I saw an article recently. They put in like maybe $100 billion over the last 10 years into Social Security and taken out a teeny tiny little fraction because they can't get it out because they did not use their valid Social Security numbers. So on the whole, they've actually put more money into the system than they take out. I think that's another point a lot of people overlook. And I should probably let somebody else talk now.
Donald Trump's headed to Mexico tomorrow.
Yeah.
I
did hear that.
I also saw the AP.
Yeah.
But I also think that I feel like it's gonna play out like this. So he's going to Mexico right before the immigration speech tomorrow. He's going to come back and say something like, now Mexico's president has been very vocal about Mexico not paying for the wall.
Mexico just agreed to pay the wall.
Right.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
He's going to come back and he's going to say,
something.
well, we're going to talk about,
Yes.
believe me,
we had a
Mexico's
great
president
meeting.
is going to come in. We had a great meeting about how Mexico's going to pay the wall.
You know
and we all know that's not going to
why
happen.
this wall is going to be a disaster? Because Americans better be careful what they ask for. Trump is saying we need this wall to curb drugs coming into the United States. Why are so many drugs coming into the United States? Oh, because Americans love their drugs.
I was going to say, because drugs are awesome. That's the given.
So when this wall goes up and
There's
their
an audience
drugs
there.
are either more difficult to come by or more expensive, Americans are going to be taking that shit down.
The Bush twins, the Trump kids.
Well, hopefully they'll be going to
right.
check into rehab and get off the addiction.
That's a whole other issue.
Exactly. That's
You can
not
check,
gonna
by
happen
the way,
all easy.
you can check the Democrats' plan on that.
I'm surprised that Stephen didn't have
already talked about her mental health.
Stephen didn't have a theory that Monsanto is developing, cocaine that they can sell over the counter.
Genetically modified
because it would make
cocaine.
sense.
They're putting it in your McDonald's hamburgers.
Can I just say
Chelsea
something? Can I
clearly
just
doesn't
say
need
that?
it.
That's why they're so
What is our
addicting.
friend storage?
He wants to replace Chelsea with an illegal alien. I don't think that's very nice.
I think he's going off the rails.
He's a little off the rails. So, yeah.
Well, like on the immigration thing,
Yes,
real quick.
please.
So Trump had a town hall with Sean Hannity, his
lapdog.
co-pilot
His
there.
lapdog.
Campaign
And Trump
spokesperson.
he brought a lot of parents who've had their children killed by illegal immigrants, and they've some of these murderers have been deported 3 or 4 times. They've been able to come back to the U.S. and they've still committed all these crimes. So I think that when you see stuff like that and you're resonating with Trump,
that's what
I think
people
that
are going to focus on.
is what
these
people focus
small
on. Exactly. I think that's what people hear when they
fears.
hear immigration.
And it's not to
that's where
say
they
that
want
those
the protection
stories
there.
Right, don't
aren't,
actually-
you know, they're these things have actually happened, and it is a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know that the
small
wall
one in
is
the grand
necessarily
in the
scheme
big
of
scheme, because there's
everything.
people here that are
a
U.S.
wall-
citizens that do the same thing.
And
So
a wall is not going to do
anyway,
it.
I mean, that's
So I
just-
don't mean to say, by the
No.
way, just for the
Yes.
record, that we don't need to address immigration at
Sure.
all. We
Right.
do.
You just didn't want a wall to do it.
But it's just the
That's
worst
not
idea.
all.
But there's
Well,
different ways to
power.
do it, and just like
It's a
there's that
waste of money.
the families that are split. Like there was an LA Times article about this. The mom
I
had to
read
stay
that, yeah.
in Tijuana, and she's legally married to her American husband, and the kids are on the U.S. side, and they can only see each other once a week. Like those things need to be fixed, and she can't get through for 10 years. She can't get her visa.
Yeah. And-
I mean those type of things need to be worked on when you
Yeah.
have families split up. You have other issues going on besides
There's
building
just
a
common
Bruce,
sense.
imagine Wall
Right.
Street or Hollywood without Coke. Never
never
going to
gonna
happen.
happen. That's a good
right.
point.
And I just
Right.
want to point out, and like I said, you know, obviously we know who I back, but at the same time, Jill
I wish
Stein,
we could cut away to your bag right now, but it's out.
my
it's out
Hillary
of
Clinton,
It's a
my
big
Hillary Clinton
bag,
thing.
yeah.
But
St. Stephen's back, bud.
Jill Stein 2016.com and both johnsonwell.com have more. They only have like two things on their website
Yeah, I was gonna
in
say,
terms of
that's-
immigration, but there's more policy like focus in those two small paragraphs than what Donald Trump is providing, at least on
But I was
immigration.
going to say, and I hate to harp back on it, but again, it is a racist tinge to it, and it has everything to do with that, because nobody cares about European immigrants, nobody cares, like you said, about Australian immigrants.
Right.
I mean, obviously those numbers are less, but nobody cares about that, because that's what it comes down to, and it's sad, but that's part of the reason why people are so worked up and angry.
And there'll be plenty more to say about immigration in the weeks ahead, but especially since we're going to have Trump's big speech tomorrow, so I feel like we'll have something on that.
Yeah.
Back to the comment in the chat room from Bruce Lee. Big fan of your work, sir. As you said, imagine Wall Street or Hollywood without Coke. Never going to happen. Two groups, very generous donations to the Hillary Clinton campaign. So just wanted to make that point. More a story before we move on. A robocall from David Duke was going out telling people to vote for Trump. And a robocall telling you to vote for David Duke and Donald Trump tells me two things. The first, robots are racist. And two, Trump's friends aren't the kind of friends you want to have. It's like, no, it's all right. Don't. I don't need the endorsement. And this has been a problem so many times. And at some point, somebody needs to sit down with David Duke and just be like, could you stop?
Yeah.
No, keep going.
Well,
because
Right, I know,
I'm just
right?
saying.
Keep going.
But from the Trump campaign, it's like, you're not helping us. But I guess he thinks he's helping
And
himself,
they can't
right?
they cannot do that because they would lose their base support because people go,
You mean the Klan?
you know, well, first of all, no, but I mean this kind of idea, you know, listen, the rhetoric that has come out of the Trump campaign is very targeted. To a very specific group of people, kind of like immigration. If he wavers on immigration, like look what happened in the past week. He wavered on immigration a little bit. His base got scared, and now he's got to do another speech to prove that he's got to build the wall. Like he didn't even mention the wall last week, and now Kellyanne Conway was like, well, no.
The centerpiece of the whole thing
this
is
is what he's been
the
talking about the
wall.
whole time, and now he's got to get back to the main issue so that he can
many
keep
mixed
that
messages.
base coming, and David Duke is a part of that conversation. Even though he's like that uncle that you don't to Trump. He's like that uncle that you want to keep around, but you only want to keep him at arm's length, and that's
You
what
only have him at the
Donald Trump-
holidays.
Yeah,
and
I don't want
and
to keep him
the rest of the
around.
year,
They
you don't wanna
disavowed
talk
him,
to him.
and Mike Pence was on with Jake Carpenter the other day saying, we don't want that support. We don't want his support. Basically saying, stop. We don't want any of your endorsement.
Right, but it certainly didn't come from Donald Trump. It came from his vice. I mean,
Donald
Mike
Trump has
Pence
said it repeatedly.
has said,
Trump did disavow it today.
No, I mean, they've disavowed
And he's
That
even
was
said
part
it
of his
multiple times.
Yes.
Yeah.
face.
So
But the
we're
thing
we're
is-
talking about rhetoric versus actually.
Right,
He said all his rhetoric is landing with people who are racist.
Those people that are supporting David Duke are also supporting
Donald
Trump,
Trump.
and the fact
mean-
is he
right.
is.
Yeah,
Those
the
people-
the
final
Ku
thought,
Klux
Chelsea.
Klan is supporting David Duke, but all of Trump's supporters are not white
I'm not
racist.
saying all of them. I'm saying those people
Well,
that are supporting David
white
Duke
That's
racists
what-
are supporting Trump.
that's what you're
Not
saying.
all of them,
No, I'm
but
not saying all of them.
They're not supporting Hillary Clinton
And
or
this
anybody.
There's
message,
racists supporting
the
Hillary
robocall
Clinton.
itself is very like, we are losing our country. We are going
There
to be
are.
outnumbered. Are you afraid that everybody's going to look like me?
What?
I can only
Mexican
hope
or something
so.
else? I had some random old man like on I can't
Instagram?
remember, in San Diego or something, and he was like talking of, we need Trump, otherwise, because San Diego, otherwise this whole place is gonna, look like Mexicans. And I was like me, like I
But
guess
that is a legitimate
I don't want to
fear
lift
of
all
some
the
of these
Latins
older
out of here.
people.
I
That
love
is a legitimate
Latinas.
fear. No, it
Thank
really
you.
is. That's
I
what
love
I'm saying.
Latina women.
There you go. See, there's a lot of love in here.
Yeah, no, but I don't
what
wanna-
Stephen's saying is
I don't want
we
them all to
want
leave.
America to look more like Chelsea.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we wish.
That's the way
Now-
it is going.
But families who are here and have kids here and stuff, yeah, they deserve a right.
Well, if you believe that, then in Trump's plan and ending birthright citizenship, those folks are going to be.
well, that means I guess it would affect him too.
As the
Right.
clock is working against us, we didn't get to talk about polls last week. So because Scott wasn't here, we're like, let's save
my
some
polls.
poll talk for this week.
Like our Weiner talk earlier.
Even figuring in, so this was from Real Clear Politics.
Yeah.
So even figuring in 112 toss-up electoral votes. This is Real Clear Politics. They still gave Hillary 272 electoral votes, which you need 270.
Yes.
So that's interesting. Now you look at a lot of these averages. Hillary's up 6 in the RCP average. The four-way, she's up by 4. Favorability ratings, Hillary has a minus 11.3, but Trump has minus 25.8. So, she's actually positive 14.5. But what it really comes down to is Vegas, which we'll talk about soon, not on this show. The betting odds are still 80-20 in favor of Hillary.
Yeah.
And for anybody that's ever gone to a sports book and been like, no, I'm gonna clean up. No, they always know. So that if it gets closer to election day, that's the only one I really care about. What is Vegas saying? If that gets like almost 50-50, then
These numbers are off. There are people who are voting for Trump who are too ashamed and too embarrassed
Well, I definitely
to
agree
say
with
that
that.
they
I
want to
agree with
vote
that,
for
but not
Trump right
enough.
now.
So that's going to change anything. Have you seen the last
Stephen,
couple elections?
I will mention there
But wouldn't
was
those show up in the undecideds?
yeah,
Right.
but
Because they would,
And those numbers
or
aren't
they're
gonna change.
pretending
not-
so much that they're coming out right now and saying I'm a Hillary person.
so
I'm sorry, there's just not enough to make a difference in that sense.
well, the idea was that the polling was skewed
Right, and that's
for
what people-
Romney because people didn't
Right.
want to say they didn't want to vote for Obama because they
Right.
didn't want people to think they're racist. And
And you
I
saw
think in the
every
end,
single
they were
battleground
pretty
state
close.
went to
Yeah.
Obama
I
last
watched-
time, and it's the same thing that.
I watched
this
Kellyanne
time.
Conway on MSNBC the other day, and she made a comment that said, "Oh, the media wants to talk about the polls when the polls are bad for or bad for Trump, and not when they're good for Trump." But the Trump campaign didn't want to talk about the polls when the polls were in their favor. So the Trump campaign wanted to talk about the polls when they were in the primary, and he thought they were great for Trump. But they certainly don't want to admit some of the polls right now, where Clinton is +8 in Pennsylvania, she's +3 in Florida, she's +6.
Think about what you're asking. Do you really?
Right.
Do you
She's
think Donald Trump's really going to go out and be like, "Yeah, she's beat me by 8 points"?
No.
But
Well,
anyways,
no. But what
We're saying they're
is
trying
that
to discount the polls
they're
now
trying to discount the
because
polls
he's
now because he's
rising
gonna lose. So
badly.
she's plus 0.03.
He's not even talking about
She's
her.
plus 0.03
He is.
in Georgia right now,
He is.
and she's
Shit.
only
Yeah.
and Trump is only +3 in Missouri. So these are
and plus
right
one
now,
in South Carolina. I mean, it's very close in a lot of these red states, and that was the whole thing. A lot of these traditional red states are now closer.
So
because
there's,
Even Texas
there's a
is
couple
hanging
numbers
out
I
the
want to
toilet.
throw
Less
into
than
the
10
mix.
points.
The first, and again, it's within the margin of error, but it was an LA Times USC poll. This was just on Sunday.
Yep.
Trump 45, Hillary 43. Now, like I said, it's in the margin of error, but if you start to see that trend elsewhere, it's something that the Hillary
Worth
should
looking.
take a look at.
But-
I want to show these numbers from Nate Silver of 538, and we'll show them for the audience when we get a chance. They were on Twitter, from his Twitter. I think he's just at Nate Silver 538. So just very quickly, week to week, you see Hillary going from 45, and there's fractions in here, but I'm just going to give the whole numbers. So 45, 43, 43, and 42. Yeah. So it's going down, and you're like, uh-oh, what's that about? But if you look at Trump, he was 37, 36,
Yeah,
also
he's also
37.
going down.
So
because they're
I
adding
think,
in, they're factoring
well,
in Jill Stein and
they're
Gary
they're
Johnson
doing
at the
those
same
things,
time.
but I think that what some of the polls might still be showing is surprisingly still a little bit of a bounce for Hillary, which is crazy because I know how long ago that was because I know how long we've been doing the show.
But also, I think the thing that's surprising is that Trump's numbers are still below 40%, which is
but it's
really...
not, it's not going down, but it's not really going up.
But being below 40% is pretty terrible
so
for
it's
major
interesting
candidate
that she's going down a little bit.
She is.
So
They're both going down.
If she gets closer to those high 30s, it'll
it'd
definitely
be bad
be
for her
interesting
too.
to see.
It would be bad for her to be in those numbers.
Anyway,
But I just want to point out
go ahead.
because, and I know somebody, Tim pointed out in the chat room, that to Stephen's point, there's a lot of these voters who are, quietly, secretly voting for Trump, or supporting Trump or whatever. But if you are here's the thing. I'm one of the few people on the panel, I know Scott at the same time, who have backed a candidate. Who have a candidate. And if I am proud to support Hillary Clinton on this panel, on my last show, when I'm out in the fine, whatever. But until you can come here and you have a candidate to support, then you can't really talk about anything because you got to back somebody. Or don't back anybody at all. But if you can't sit here and say, oh, well, Trump is better than this and I can support Trump and blah, 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 and now all you're doing is talk about Hillary Clinton, you can't back a candidate?
I completely disagree with you on that.
But here's the
No, but
I can see the horrible sides of Trump. I can see the horrible sides of Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
I can like some things and like some things
Yes,
here.
but what I'm saying
that doesn't mean I have to pick. That doesn't mean I have to totally be pro someone and not pay attention to the corruption that's going on with this candidate.
The hidden Trump
my God,
supporters. There's that much. There's that many
What?
Trump supporters out there that are hidden. And by the way, that's an insult to poll. People that do this professionally because they know what they're doing, and this is what happened in 2012. The same thing. And there aren't there isn't this big, huge contingency of people that are not, being
people dismissed
counted in.
the polls that didn't say what they wanted it to say.
Right, and it's just there's not that contingency there. There just isn't that many people.
Drexel's basically telling 3 people on the panel that we have to pick for someone, or we can't talk.
If someone's saying they're not that they're a hidden Trump supporter and now they're backing Hillary and they're going out and saying all this stuff, they're not going to be able to back that up.
And at the same time, you've got people. We know how Chelsea felt about Hillary Clinton during the primaries. There are
how I still feel.
How she still feels about Hillary Clinton in the primaries. At the same time, we know overwhelmingly that this year we have seen Hillary Clinton come out with policies that on college education, on national security, on climate change, on healthcare. Hillary Clinton's actually being the grown-up out there. You can't say that about Donald Trump. You can never come in here and say something.
She's being the grown-up out there.
You never come in here
and
you never say
your
anything.
Winning accolade.
You never
she
say
gets?
anything positive about anybody's plan that you support. So until you can come in here and talk about plans that you actually support, then it's a hard conversation to have. Because if you're going to start talking,
I feel like it's a hard conversation to have when you dismiss all the corruption and dismiss all the stuff that you don't want to talk about, all the bad stuff.
But I'm sitting here trying to get.
I want to talk about corruption. That's one of the main reasons why I was such a Bernie fan, is because he wants to really address that. But whenever I hear Trump mention the word corruption, he just brings up Hillary. He does not talk at all about the systemic corruption that has overtaken our democracy. I have seen no plan. I've never even heard him talk about that. And he should know this. The regulators in the government overseeing or being overseen by sort of the industry itself, like SEC and
So
Wall
do you
Street.
watch his rallies? Do you watch his speeches?
I did, just for you.
Which one?
Watch. It was one from
right,
last
it was one.
week.
It was one.
How many do I have to watch? He saw. He said
both
the
does
same thing.
He does a speech
I've watched
3, 4, 5 times a week.
What was his plan? And he had a plan to end corruption, or did
he talks
only
about
talk
the regulators. He talks about the big banks. He
I've
talks about
only
Wall
heard
Street.
him
He
talk
talks about the corruption.
Hillary.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait till next week to talk more about Chelsea's viewing habits. And
tune in to Trump TV, and you'll get your answers. You'll see.
I didn't even know there was a Trump TV.
There's going to be a whole media.
Even though Drexel doesn't want to, we will talk about Clinton Cash a little bit because I find it interesting. And because we have to go, I will read one comment from the chat room. It's the second half of a comment from someone named Christian Cribbs, who someone here may or may not know. I found it interesting how he addressed his comment to the girl. I guess that's Chelsea. If pay to play and money in politics is your biggest issue, stop defending the Hildebeest. Look at the contributions from Wall Street, Big Pharma, et cetera, all to Hillary. Why? They all know they can control her. I will send the Trump train to pick you up. To which our pal, Sturgeon resident, said, yes. Chelsea riding the Trump train. The Trump people
That's
really
funny.
feel like they're about to get you, Chelsea.
It just is not going to happen.
Will it happen next week? We'll find out next week.
He doesn't have
waiting.
time to address corruption. He's going to be building a wall.
He's gonna be
He's
dealing
not
with
building the wall. Mexico's building the wall.
Are we talking about Clinton cash at all?
Trump
and
wall.
they
No,
don't-
we don't
have
have time.
time.
I would have.
Way to go, Drexel. You ate up all the time, so we wouldn't have to talk about Clinton
I
cash.
said we'll talk about it next week because I do want to talk about it.
I just want
Maybe I have time to
Scott,
watch it.
Scott, you
I
have
didn't
time
get
to
to
watch
see
it.
it now.
I just want to point out that
You got 60 seconds.
We have primaries tonight.
Yes.
Patrick Murphy won his primary
Florida
against Alan
Democrat.
Grayson. Debbie Wasserman Schultz won her Florida 23rd.
Marco Rubio
over.
won
Marco
in
Rubio won his.
Republican.
How did John
The
McCain
system
do?
is
that
rigged,
still
folks.
counted?
I'm sure John
Yeah,
McCain won
because
his
it's
primary.
yeah.
Yeah.
Chelsea and Drex ate up all the time, so we wouldn't have to talk about Clinton cash. The system is rigged.
Yeah,
The system is rigged.
Fake fantasy issues.
And not only is the system rigged, but so is this show. For Scott Moore at SMan80, Drexel Heard at Drexel Heard, Chelsea Galicia at Chelsea Galicia, on the couch of dissent, Stephen Helmkamp at Stephen
Clinton
Helmkamp.
cash on YouTube.
I'm Christian Bladt
Pay
at
to
Christian
play.
DMZ. Do
It's a
not
documentary.
forget
Drink every time you hear
You're
Pay to
gonna
Play.
we are at
In the
Trump
Trump
Hillary
Tower.
at Trump Hillary 16. We'll be back next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. See you all then. Thanks, everybody.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.